What do you do when your hard drive fails and your computer won't start and you think you've lost all your client files? Pro tip, panic is not it. I actually had that happen to me on the weekend, and I'm here today to talk about disaster recovery and backup processes. G'day everyone, I'm Charlie from Ask Charlie Latham, and as you can see, if I move this way, I'm in my Outback office today. It's a lovely day up here on the Atherton Tablelands in Queensland. And you know what? I'm smiling now, but I wasn't smiling over the weekend. So I was working on the weekend, as you often do, or as I often do. I was doing a few things. Someone came in to have a chat to me, so I got up and walked out, and we went and sat out in the sun and had a talk and all the things that go along with that. When I came back in, my computer had failed. I'd left it running, but it had failed. There were errors up on the screen. Applications had locked up, and I thought, oh, bloody Windows. That'd be right. So I turned it off and turned it back on again, as all good techs do when they're doing troubleshooting on Windows machines. It didn't start, and my heart sunk, my stomach churned. I thought, oh no, what am I going to do here? My computer is my lifeline. It's connects me with the world, and it's how I earn money. It's what my business is. I took a few deep breaths, drank a cup of concrete, and thought, well, it's time to do some troubleshooting. So after a little bit of troubleshooting, I got it to boot off of the drive I have, that is the boot drive, and I discovered that my big terabyte drive, the large capacity storage drive, had completely failed. It was not accessible. It wasn't reading. The computer sometimes recognized it but couldn't read it, and often did not. I rebooted several times to prove that. And I'm thinking, oh no, that's where all my data is. And then I stopped. I thought, no, that's not where all my data is. I might actually be okay. How did and I was. I truly was. I was back up and running within a couple of hours. I had most of my applications reinstalled and running, and I had access to all of the data that I needed for my computer, for my business, that I had on my computer. The only things that I really lost were application files, which, I had backups for those, and I can always download them from the internet. Some downloaded information that just goes into your download files when you say, yeah, just save this to my computer. Maybe a couple of photos, maybe. I don't really take photos on my computer, but images that I'd saved off, the funny ones. But everything else I was sweet with. How? How did I do that? It was pretty simple, actually. I didn't actually use that hard drive as my main storage drive. That hard drive was an operational drive. It was there. People are going to be horrified. I was using it more as a scratch drive. It was a place to temporarily put things before I moved them and saved them off to other locations. What I do, and the thing that really saved me the most, and I'd really recommend people think about doing it, is a couple of years ago I went and bought myself this little device. It's a little, there it is, little SSD, solid state, 1 terabyte SanDisk portable drive. It doesn't have to be SanDisk, but I like SanDisk, and I like the quality of the device. It's got this really nice little carabiner connection on it, so I can just throw it onto the edge of my bag or something if I need to, and it connects to the computer via a USB cable. That is the same size drive that was in my computer, and what I had done was I had moved all my operational and working files to this device. I didn't store anything that was mission critical only on that hard drive. What I had also done was set up a program called GoodSync to replicate the data that appeared on this drive and put it up in my OneDrive account. Now, I had done that replication for two reasons. One is I just didn't want to run the risk that this little device was going to fail on me at some point, because it might still fail. It's even being solid state, nothing will last forever, so I do have to be careful. Didn't really want to run the risk that that was going to fail on me and I didn't have a backup of it. So copying it up into the OneDrive folder is a great idea. Another reason is because when I work remotely and I work with my team who are around the world remotely, I can give them access to certain folders within OneDrive, and they can get data off if we've got files we need to share. That's how we do a lot of our file sharing. If they need to upload stuff for me, they can upload it there. And then through the processes that I use, what uploads there is then replicated back down onto my computer. The changes I make on my computer are replicated up into OneDrive. So I've got a synchronization between the two systems. And the third reason, I was just talking about my team being able to get access to the data. If I happen to be out and about and I don't have this little device with me, because I don't always take it with me, or B, my computer with me, but I do have my phone with me, I can log in using my phone to get access to the data that's in, or the information that is in my OneDrive folder. So I use OneDrive. There are other drives that I could have used. I could have used Google Drive. I could have used Dropbox. I could use Zoho Work Drive. There's any number of things that you can use. So I use OneDrive, and I had replicated everything up. So when my hard drive failed, all I really had to do was disable it so that the computer wasn't trying to access it all the time. And if it came up and it was kind of trying to access it, was slowing things down. I did have to reinstall a number of applications because they were installed on the terabyte drive and not the boot drive. That wasn't such a difficult thing to do because I had already documented all my logins and my passwords and my license keys for all the software I use. So I knew what I used and what I needed to have to as a minimum install, and what I needed to have, or what I wanted to have as my optimal install. And I did just that. I spent a couple of hours, I reinstalled software, I found all of the what we call keys, SSH keys, so that I could log into servers that I help maintain and I run myself. I had them all replicated back down, and I was up and running. So there's a couple of things there that I really wanted to hit on as what saved me. The first one was I didn't rely just on the computer hard drive as my storage device. I backed it up to a remote device, an external device that I could take away and store somewhere else. I then also backed that data that was on here up into the cloud, so that, or actually I replicated it, synchronized it with the cloud, so that there was a exact copy of my data in the cloud as well as on my hard drive. The third thing I did that I didn't touch on here was that I'd also set up other sub-processes that took folders with sensitive information in it, not business sensitive, operationally sensitive information, data files that I would need to run my business, and had them backed up to a third location as well, so that all I needed to do when I went, oh, where did I have these? I went to that third location, said copy that back down, put them here. I now have access to all of my passwords and all of my keys and all of the data that I need. The final thing I also did was I run a password manager. I won't say which one I use here, but it replicates up into a password management cloud storage. So if I lose access to anything, I can actually log into that cloud storage and get the passwords out of it. And I also use Zoho Vault. So I've got my passwords replicated in two places too. I know that all sounds like it's a little bit of overkill, but I have lost no work time and no billable hours in messing around trying to recover my computer. It's up and running. I don't have as much disk space as I would like, so I do need to be a little careful there until I get the replacement drive in. That said, the replacement drive is already ordered and on its way. I just got to wait for Australia Post to send it. And then I can get all that fixed up, and I will be, well, actually, I'll be slightly better off because I'm replacing the 1 terabyte drive with a 2 terabyte drive. Why not? So that's, yeah, that was my weekend. My weekend went from, oh my God, I'm mortified and I'm dead and oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm fine. We're good. Let's keep moving. And I'm sitting here today smiling and working and getting everything I need to do done. What I wanted to ask you guys though is what about you? Have you thought about your disaster recovery process? Have you thought about your backups and where do you back your files up and how do you back them up, and is it a manual process, is it an automated process? Do you have processes that then go through and verify that your processes are working? I know that sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds like it's a lot of repetitive and redundant things, but again, and this is something that I actually am thankful for, I've been nomading it. I've been traveling parts of the top end of Australia since September. And while we were traveling, some of our internet connectivity was not great. So some of my replications as I was working were a little slow. So, you know, what was on this drive was not always 100% backed up to my cloud storage because we just could not get the internet connection to do it. But what that meant was when I got to an area like this where I did get a good internet, one of the first things I did was go through my operational process and check that that backup was occurring, that the synchronization had occurred, and that I was actually up to date with all of those processes, and that what was in the cloud matched what was on my hard drive, and that I had the files that I needed. What about you guys? Tell me what your challenges are. Where have you been? Where are you with that? What would you do if you started your computer and you couldn't get access to your data files? What would that mean to you, and how would you resolve it? I'd be interested to hear from you guys about what you thought of the topic, how much you could take away from that, and anything else that might be of interest around these sorts of business management issues, business operational issues, and what other topics you'd like to hear me talk about. I'd also like to invite you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure you hit the notification bell so that you get notifications when my next episodes drop.